A crack formed across the fabric of reality, silent, impossible, and glowing with power no world was prepared to understand. It happened at 3:47 a.m. over Kansas, though Kansas had never seen a Superman. The night sky tore open like wet paper, hemorrhaging light that wasn't quite light. Something older, something that made satellites malfunction and dogs howl 3 states over. The rift pulsed once, twice, then vomited forth a shape wrapped in blue and red, trailing cosmic fire like a falling angel cast from a heaven this world had never known. Kal-El of Krypton hit the Earth at terminal velocity. The Mercer family farm ceased to exist in an instant. 200 acres of wheat fields became a crater half a mile wide, the impact shockwave shattering windows in Wichita, 60 miles away. Seismographs registered a 4.2 magnitude event. News helicopters scrambled. Social media exploded with shaky footage of a mushroom cloud rising over America's heartland. And in a tower in New York City, behind bulletproof glass and layers of corporate security, alarms began screaming. "Get me visuals, now!" Madeleine Stillwell's voice cut through the crisis room's chaos like a scalpel. Her heels clicked against marble as she approached the wall of screens, each one showing different angles of the Kansas devastation. Behind her, Vought International executives huddled like jackals sensing fresh meat. "Satellite thermal imaging coming online," a technician stammered. "Ma'am, the energy signature. It's off the charts. We're reading power levels that make Homelander look like..." "Finish that sentence and you're fired." Stillwell's smile never wavered, but her eyes were calculating. "Get me analysis, get me origin, and get me the 7. All of them." In the crater, Superman stirred. His uniform was scorched, the iconic S-shield dulled by interdimensional transit, but intact. He rose slowly, muscles remembering how to move, mind struggling to process what had happened. One moment, he'd been sealing a rift near Earth's sun, a breach caused by Brainiac's latest scheme. The next, reality had shifted, and he'd been pulled through dimensions like water down a drain. This wasn't his Earth. He knew it immediately. The stars were wrong, subtly but wrong. The air tasted different, industrial and bitter. And the sun. He looked up, his vision piercing through dawn's early light, analyzing the solar radiation spectrum. Close enough. He could feel it feeding him already, yellow sun energy flooding cells that had been briefly starved during the crossing. Within hours, he'd be at full power. But something else troubled him more than celestial geography. He could hear them. Thousands of heartbeats in the nearest city, tens of thousands beyond that. But interwoven with those rhythms were screams, crying, desperation, not immediate danger, but chronic suffering, the background noise of a world in constant grinding pain, and something else. Something flying toward him at supersonic speed. Superman's eyes narrowed, telescopic vision engaging. A figure approached from the east, cape billowing, blonde hair perfect despite the velocity. The flying man wore red, white, and blue, a twisted mirror of his own colors. But as the figure came closer, Superman's super hearing picked up details that made his skin crawl. Elevated heartbeat, cocaine metabolites in the bloodstream, and underneath the practiced smile, a voice muttering, "Fucking alien piece of shit thinks he can upstage me in my sky." The figure landed 20 feet away with unnecessary force, cracking the ground. Homelander's smile was white and empty as a shark's. "Well, well, well." Homelander's voice carried that peculiar American accent Superman recognized from 1,000 press conferences. Practiced, focus-grouped, artificial. "Looks like we got ourselves an illegal alien situation. You got a green card, pal?" Because Vought International takes border security very seriously. 7 more figures descended from the sky or emerged from military vehicles surrounding the crater. A woman in armor materialized with a shimmer, Queen Maeve. though Superman didn't know her name yet. A man crackling with electricity, a translucent figure flickering in and out of visibility, a black-clad warrior moving with predatory grace, a fishman looking uncomfortable on dry land, a younger man in dark armor with throwing stars, a woman whose eyes glowed purple with barely contained power. The Seven, Vought's premier superhero team, corporate America's answer to the Justice League, and Superman could see through every one of them. X-ray vision showed him Homelander's elevated cortisol levels, the chemical imbalances of a mind barely holding itself together, the terror in Maeve's eyes despite her warrior stance, the track marks hidden under the Deep's costume, A-Train's failing heart, straining under repeated compound V injections, Black Noir's complete lack of readable expression, face hidden, but body language suggesting military conditioning. These weren't heroes, they were products. "I don't want trouble," Superman said, voice calm, but carrying an authority that made several of the Seven unconsciously step back. "I'm not from this world. There was an accident, a dimensional breach. I need to understand where I am and how to get home." Homelander's eye twitched. "Not from this world. Right. So you're what? E.T. phone home?" He laughed, and the Seven laughed with him, except Maeve, whose jaw was tight. "Here's what's going to happen, friend. You're going to come with us to Vought Tower, quietly. We'll get you processed, run some tests, figure out your deal. Maybe there's a place for you in our organization. We're always looking for new talent." The way he said tests made Superman's hands curl into fists. "I'm not going anywhere until I have answers. What is Vought? Who are you people? And why?" His super hearing spiked, catching a news broadcast from a nearby car radio. "Why is every news channel calling you heroes, while I can hear someone screaming for help 12 miles from here, and none of you are moving?" The silence that followed was broken only by the wind across the crater. Homelander's smile vanished. "Listen carefully, because I'm only going to say this once. In this world, in my world, I'm the hero. I'm the strongest there is. I'm the hero. And whatever backwater planet you fell off of doesn't change that, so you're going to..." He didn't see Superman move. One moment the stranger stood 20 feet away. The next, he was inches from Homelander's face, and for the first time in years, Homelander felt something he'd almost forgotten: fear. "The person screaming is a 9-year-old girl trapped in a collapsed building," Superman said quietly. "I'm going to help her now. Then we'll talk." He was gone before Homelander could respond, a sonic boom cracking across Kansas as Superman accelerated toward Wichita. In Vought Tower, Stillwell leaned forward, watching the satellite feed with predatory interest. "Get me everything on him. Powers, weaknesses, origins, and someone tell me why Homelander is just standing there like an idiot." The game had changed, and Madeline Stillwell always won the game. The girl's name was Emma Rodriguez, and she had 17 minutes of oxygen left when Superman found her. The building had collapsed 3 hours ago, a structural failure Vaught's news networks were already blaming on substandard immigrant construction crews. Superman tore through concrete and rebar like tissue paper, his hands moving with surgical precision, supporting load-bearing debris while extracting the child from a pocket of space no larger than a coffin. She was unconscious, but alive. He cradled her gently, listening to her heartbeat strengthen as he flew her toward the nearest hospital at speeds that made the air itself scream. He set her down at the emergency room entrance with impossible gentleness, then vanished before the cameras could focus, but they'd already captured enough. By the time Superman returned to the crater, the footage had gone viral. 30 million views in 40 minutes. The internet was losing its collective mind. Who is she trending worldwide? Conspiracy theories metastasizing by the second. And in every Vought conference room across America, executives were having simultaneous panic attacks. Because the man in the footage didn't smile for the cameras, didn't pose, didn't check if his logo was visible. He just saved a life and disappeared. It was the most subversive thing Vought had ever witnessed. "We need to control this narrative now." Stillwell's voice crackled through secure channels as she paced her office, looking down at New York from the 77th floor. "I want him found, contained, and either contracted or neutralized before end of business today. Is that clear?" On one screen, Homelander's face was crimson, with barely suppressed rage. On another, the Vought board of directors looked like sharks smelling blood in the water. On a third, Ashley Barrett, VP of Hero Management, looked one panic attack away from a stroke. "Ma'am, we've deployed surveillance drones across a 100-mile radius," Ashley reported, her voice shaking. "But he's not showing up on thermals. Every time we get a lock, he's gone. It's like he knows where our cameras are." Because he could hear them, Superman stood on a water tower 30 miles outside Wichita, listening to every encrypted communication within a 1,000-mile radius. The technology was crude by his standards, easily penetrated by his super hearing. He was learning about this world in real time, and what he learned made his blood run cold. Compound V, a chemical that created superheroes. Not born, not accidents, manufactured, corporate-owned, marketed. He listened to intercepted communications about hero licensing agreements, brand optimization, and acceptable civilian casualty rates. This world had weaponized heroism itself. "Krypton above," he whispered, the old Kryptonian prayer bitter on his tongue. In his world, heroes emerged from tragedy, from choice, from the fundamental human need to help others. Here, they were products on an assembly line, and the factory was rotten to its core. His telescopic vision tracked multiple aircraft converging on his position. Military, but with Vought contractors embedded. He could see the Compound V enhancement patches on several soldiers, attempts to create super soldiers that his X-ray vision revealed were slowly poisoning their users. And leading them was Homelander, flying with 7 others in formation. The 7 again, reinforced by additional figures. A hulking man whose muscles rippled with unnatural bulk, a woman whose hands crackled with green energy, a teenager who looked terrified. They wanted to talk. Superman suspected talk meant something very different here than in his world. He dropped from the water tower and landed in an empty field, waiting. Let them come to him. Let them make their intentions clear. The 7 touched down in a semicircle, deliberately theatrical. Homelander at the center, Queen Maeve to his right, the others fanned out like a military formation. The additional supes hung back, backup or witnesses. "Round 2, Homelander said, his smile sharp enough to cut glass. "Let's try this again. I'm Homelander. You might have heard of me. I'm the leader of the 7, America's premier superhero team, trademark Vought International. These are my associates. And you are Superman." The word felt strange in this world, like a language no one spoke anymore. "I told you, I'm not from here. I don't want conflict. I just want to understand this world and find a way home." Superman. Homelander tasted the word like poison. Cute. Real cute. Problem is, Superman isn't cleared through Vaught's trademark office and flying around doing unauthorized heroics. That's a violation of about 60 different laws. We have protocols, regulations. You can't just save lives. Superman's voice was quiet but carried an edge that made several of the 7 shift uncomfortably. That girl would have died. Your team was standing in a crater for 45 minutes while she suffocated. Queen Maeve flinched. A-Train looked away. Homelander's face went very still. "We were securing a potential threat zone. That's protocol. The girl was already being handled by local emergency services." "She wasn't. I checked." Superman's eyes glowed faint red, not threatening, just involuntary as his emotions spiked. "Your emergency services waited for Vought approval before entering the building. They needed legal clearance. A child was dying while lawyers argued about liability. The silence that followed was broken by Black Noir's hand moving toward a concealed weapon. Superman saw it coming 3 seconds before it happened, saw the neural impulses fire, saw the muscle contractions, saw the weapon itself through layers of Kevlar and carbon fiber. Don't. Superman was suddenly standing beside Black Noir, one hand gently but immovably gripping the assassin's wrist. I don't want to hurt anyone, but I won't let you hurt me either. He released Black Noir and returned to his original position faster than cameras could track. Homelander's left eye twitched. A-Train looked like he might vomit. Even Queen Maeve's warrior composure cracked slightly. How fast are you? A-Train whispered. Fast enough. Superman's gaze swept across them. X-ray vision and super hearing painting. A complete picture. I can see your enhanced metabolisms breaking down. Hear your irregular heartbeats. See the chemical dependencies. What did they do to you? Careful. Homelander's voice dropped to something dark and genuine, the PR mask slipping. You're making accusations about Vought International. That's defamation, slander. We have lawyers who would bury you. I have questions. Superman stood his ground. This Compound V, it created all of you? You weren't born with abilities? That's proprietary information, Homelander said, and none of your goddamn business. It becomes my business when I'm being surrounded by corporate manufactured enforcers pretending to be heroes. Superman's voice hardened. Where I come from, heroes don't answer to marketing departments. They answer to their conscience. Homelander moved then, a blur of red, white and blue crossing 50 feet in microseconds. Fist pulled back for a haymaker that could shatter concrete. Superman caught the punch one-handed. The shockwave flattened grass for 100 yards. The sound was thunder without lightning. For 3 heartbeats, they stood frozen. Homelander straining with everything he had, Superman holding firm with visible effort but clear superiority. Then Superman spoke, quiet enough that only Homelander could hear. You're strong, probably the strongest thing this world has ever made. But I've fought gods, Homelander, real gods, and you're not even close. He released Homelander's fist and stepped back. Homelander stared at his own hand, trembling with something between rage and existential terror. In Vought Tower, Madeline Stillwell smiled. Get me the CIA, get me the military, and get me every piece of kryptonite we don't have. She paused. And someone find out what this Superman actually is, because we're going to own him, or we're going to destroy him. The punch came from behind. Queen Maeve, moving with the tactical precision of someone who'd actually fought real battles. Superman dodged without turning around, hearing the displacement of air, the acceleration of her heartbeat, the micro-tensions in her muscles telegraphing the strike a full second before it arrived. He was 10 feet to the left when her fist cratered the ground where he'd stood. I'm sorry, he said, and meant it. He could see the conflict in her eyes, duty warring with something deeper. But I'm not fighting you, then you're going to lose. A-Train became a blue blur, circling Superman at speeds that would have been impressive if Superman hadn't routinely raced the Flash. The speedster threw punches from every angle, a hurricane of strikes that should have been impossible to counter. Superman stood motionless, letting each punch pass within millimeters of his face, reading the patterns. Then he moved, just once, and A-Train was suddenly 20 feet away, confused and winded. You're fast, Superman said, but you're sloppy. Your form is terrible and your heart is going to give out if you keep pushing Compound V through your system like that. A-Train clutched his chest, fear flashing across his face. Enough talk. Homelander's eyes ignited, crimson heat vision, lancing towards Superman with enough concentrated power to melt through a bank vault. The air itself screamed as twin beams of superheated energy crossed the distance. Superman's eyes flared red in response. His heat vision met Homelander's mid-air. The collision was apocalyptic. Two streams of thermal energy, each capable of atomizing steel, locked together in a contest of raw power. The air between them turned to plasma. Grass ignited in a circle 50 yards wide. The temperature spiked to 3,000 degrees. Homelander pushed harder, drawing on every ounce of power Compound Phi had granted him. His veins bulged. His scream was rage and desperation combined. Superman barely strained. He could feel the solar energy flowing through him, limitless and clean, refined by a Kryptonian biology that had evolved under a red sun for millennia before flourishing under yellow. Homelander's power was artificial, chemical, finite. Superman increased output by 10%. Homelander's heat vision collapsed. The feedback sent him tumbling backward through the air. "Jesus Christ," the Deep whispered. "He beat Homelander." "No." Black Noir's voice was cold, modulated through his mask. He drew twin blades that gleamed with an oily sheen, compound V-enhanced edges designed to cut through Soup's skin. "We beat him. Together." They came at him in coordinated waves. Queen Maeve from the left, throwing punches with centuries of warrior training compressed into a Vought-manufactured package. Black Noir from the right, blades singing through air, targeting joints and tendons with surgical precision. The Deep launched a desperate water blast from a nearby irrigation pipe. Starlight, the youngest of them, threw bolts of golden energy with tears streaming down her face. Superman moved through them like water through a sieve. He caught Maeve's punch and redirected it harmlessly into the ground. He bent backward, Matrix style, as Black Noir's blades passed through the space his throat had occupied. He evaporated the Deep's water attack with a controlled burst of heat vision. He absorbed Starlight's energy blast and felt his cells drink it like sunshine. And then he stopped holding back. His speed was something this world had never witnessed. He disarmed Black Noir in 3 moves, not violently, just efficiently, leaving the assassin's weapons embedded in a tree trunk 40 yards away. He used super breath to create a localized downdraft that grounded A-Train mid-sprint, pinning him with wind pressure alone. He caught Queen Maeve's next punch and held her there, not hurting her, but immovable as a mountain. "Please," he said quietly, looking into her eyes. "I can see you don't want this. None of you do, except him." He glanced at Homelander, who was rising into the air again, face contorted with fury. "Don't let him drag you into a fight you can't win." Maeve's eyes widened. For a moment, Superman thought she might stand down. Then Homelander screamed, a primal sound of wounded ego and threatened supremacy, and dove at Superman like a missile. Mach 3, full power, completely unhinged. Superman sighed, released Maeve gently, and met Homelander's charge head-on. They collided at supersonic speed. The shockwave shattered windows in Wichita. They tumbled through the air, exchanging blows faster than the Seven could track. Homelander fought with rage and desperation. Superman fought with practiced efficiency, every movement economical, every strike pulled to avoid permanent damage. But Homelander wasn't pulling anything. His punches came with killing intent. His heat vision targeted vulnerable spots: eyes, throat, temples. His screams were incoherent fury. They crashed through a grain silo, demolished a barn, created a second crater adjacent to the first. And through it all, Superman realized something horrifying. Homelander wasn't just fighting to win. He was fighting because for the first time in his life, he'd met something he couldn't dominate, and his entire psyche was fragmenting around that reality. This wasn't a villain. This was a broken weapon that had been told it was a god. Superman caught both of Homelander's wrists mid-punch and held him there, suspended 50 feet above the Kansas plains. Below them, the Seven had stopped fighting. They were watching, waiting. "I don't want to be your enemy," Superman said, voice cutting through the wind. "But I won't let you hurt people. Not me." Not anyone. Homelander's face twisted. I'm the hero. I'm the fucking hero. You're scared. Superman's voice softened. Someone made you, gave you power, but never taught you what to do with it. Never taught you why. They turned you into a product and called it heroism. For one moment, something human flickered in Homelander's eyes. Something lost and terrified and achingly young. Then it vanished behind rage again. Fuck you! Fuck you! Homelander headbutted Superman with enough force to stagger a tank. Superman's head rocked back approximately 3 inches. Homelander's nose shattered. Blood poured down his face. The first time the Seven had seen their leader bleed in years. The psychological damage was worse than the physical. Homelander touched his face, saw his own blood, and something fundamental broke inside him. He fled. Simple as that. Mach 2, straight up, disappearing into the stratosphere with a sonic boom that rattled bones. The remaining 7 stared at Superman. He hovered there, not a scratch on him, cape settling gently in the wind. He looked tired, sad. He needs help, Superman said to no one in particular. They all do. Queen Maeve found her voice first. Who are you? Really? Someone who's starting to understand what kind of world I've landed in. Superman descended slowly, unthreatening. And I think we need to talk, really talk, without Vought listening. Before anyone could respond, a helicopter crested the horizon. Then another, then a dozen. Military markings, news crews, Vought security. And below them, a convoy of black vehicles approaching at high speed. A-Train's enhanced hearing picked up radio chatter. It's everyone. Military, CIA, Vaught's private army. They're locking down the entire area. Superman's super hearing confirmed it. 50 different encrypted channels, all coordinating. Perimeters being established. Satellite surveillance going active. And underneath it all, one voice he was beginning to recognize. Madeline Stillwell, orchestrating the response like a conductor leading an orchestra. Listen carefully, Superman said to the Seven. What happens next will define what kind of hero I am in this world, and what kind you choose to be. He looked at each of them in turn. Are you warriors, or are you advertisements? Queen Maeve's jaw tightened. Starlight's hands shook. Even Black Noir's posture shifted slightly. The helicopters circled like vultures. The convoy surrounded the crater. And in Vought Tower, Madeline Stillwell placed one final call. Billy, it's been a while. I think we finally have something you might actually be useful for. The bar was called the Redeemer, and it smelled like violence waiting to happen. Superman had disappeared before Vought's net could close, simply accelerated beyond their tracking capabilities and vanished into the American heartland. He'd spent 6 hours listening to this world, learning its rhythms, understanding its rot. The more he heard, the darker the picture became. Now he sat in a dive bar in Newark, New Jersey, nursing a beer that couldn't affect his Kryptonian metabolism, waiting. He'd heard whispers on police channels, caught fragments of encrypted communications referencing a group that hunted supes, anti-heroes, terrorists, depending on who was talking, the boys, and they were coming for him. He could hear them 3 blocks away, 4 heartbeats, elevated adrenaline, weapons being checked. They thought they were hunting. They didn't realize he'd led them here. The door burst open. 4 figures entered with the casual menace of people who'd kicked down 1,000 doors before. Leading them was a man with a face like weathered granite and eyes that had seen too much and forgotten how to look away. Billy Butcher. Superman had heard his voice on intercepted communications, British accent, perpetual anger, vocabulary that would make a sailor blush. Well, well, well. Butcher's grin was all teeth and no warmth. If it ain't the alien cunt himself. Heard you gave Homelander a proper thrashing. Beautiful that. Brought a bloody tear to me eye. The others fanned out, tactical positions covering exits. a wiry black man with clever eyes. Mother's milk, his dossier said. Ex-military, family destroyed by Vought. A feral-looking maniac with wild eyes. Frenchie, weapons specialist, anarchist tendencies. And a young woman whose hands crackled with barely contained energy. Kimiko, mute, traumatized, enhanced with compound V against her will. All broken by this world's version of heroism. "You're the boys," Superman said calmly. "You hunt superheroes, kill them, from what I've heard. We hunt cunts who call themselves heroes while raping and murdering their way through life." Butcher pulled up a chair, sat backward on it, never taking his eyes off Superman. Important distinction. And word is, you ain't from around here. So let's have a chat, yeah? Man too, whatever the fuck you are. Superman met his gaze. "I'm listening." "Right then, here's what I know." Butcher counted on his fingers. "You embarrassed Homelander, which is fucking glorious, by the way. You saved a little girl without checking if the cameras were rolling. Which is weird, cause that's not how soups work here. And you look proper disgusted every time you see the Seven. So either you're the world's best actor, or you genuinely don't know what kind of cesspool you've landed in." "Tell me," Superman said quietly. For the next 20 minutes, Billy Butcher painted a picture of institutional horror that made Superman's fists clench hard enough to crack the table. He spoke of compound V, injected into babies without consent, of soups who murdered civilians and had it covered up by Vaught's legal team, of rape, torture, and abuse hidden behind hero branding, of Homelander's body count, over 300 confirmed, thousands more suspected. Mother's milk showed him photos on a tablet. Crime scenes Vought had sanitized, victims Vought had paid to stay silent, children who died in compound V trials. Each image was a knife in Superman's conscience. "This Homelander," Superman's voice was dangerously quiet. "He's killed 300 people, and they gave him a fucking merchandising deal." Butcher leaned forward. "See, that's the game here, mate. Vought creates the soups, controls the narrative, and profits from the carnage. The Seven, they're not heroes, they're products, murderers with good PR." Superman's eyes glowed faint red. The beer bottle in his hand fractured. "Why hasn't anyone stopped them?" "Tried. For 20 years, I've tried." Butcher's voice carried decades of rage. "Vought owns the government, the media, the bloody courts. You can't fight them legal-like. Only way to stop a soup is to kill them. Permanently. No." The word was absolute. "There's always another way." Butcher's expression hardened. "You sound like every naive cunt who thought they could reform the system. They're all dead now, or broken, or working for Vought." He pulled out a small device, some kind of scanner. "Frenchie, run the test." Frenchie approached cautiously, activating the device. It hummed, scanning Superman with radiation he could feel tingling against his skin. After a moment, Frenchie's eyes widened. "Mon Dieu, he is not compound V. His cellular structure, it is completely different. Alien, genuinely alien. So, you're the real deal." Butcher processed this. "Not manufactured, not Vaught's creature. Which means you might actually give a shit about what's right." "I do." Superman stood, towering over them, but somehow not threatening. "But I don't kill, ever. I've fought tyrants, warlords, genocidal monsters. I've never crossed that line." "Then you're a fool." Butcher stood too, getting in Superman's space. "Homelander will kill thousands more. The Deep drowns women for fun. A train murders witnesses. Black Noir is an assassin who takes trophies. You can't rehabilitate them. You can't arrest them. The only solution is a bullet, or in your case, whatever the fuck you do with those laser eyes. Heat vision, and no." Superman's voice was steel wrapped in velvet. "I've seen what happens when heroes become executioners. It starts with just the worst ones, and ends with anyone who disagrees. I won't become what I fight." Even if it means more people die? Even then. Superman turned to face Butcher fully. But that doesn't mean I'll do nothing. You've shown me the corruption. Now I'll show you there's another way. Mother's Milk spoke up, voice heavy with skepticism. How? Vought has been untouchable for decades. They've got lawyers, politicians, entire military divisions. How does one alien, even one as powerful as you, bring down an empire? Superman's eyes reflected determination that had toppled gods. By exposing them, every crime, every cover-up, every victim, by forcing the world to see what they've built, and by proving that real heroism still exists. Butcher laughed, bitter and sharp. You're going to fight Vought with truth and justice? Mate, this ain't your world. This is a world where truth is whatever Vaught's PR team says it is. Then I'll make them listen. Superman moved toward the door. But I need information, everything you have. Vaught's structure, their facilities, where they keep records. I can infiltrate anywhere, hear anything, see through any security. Help me gather evidence, and I'll dismantle Vought without becoming a killer. Butcher studied him for a long moment, then glanced at Mother's Milk, who nodded slightly. At Frenchie, who shrugged philosophically. At Kimiko, who signed something that Frenchie translated. She says he has kind eyes, rare in soups. All right, Superman. Butcher extended a hand. We'll show you where the bodies are buried, literally. But when you see what Vought really is, when you see Homelander rip a toddler in half because the kid's crying annoyed him, don't come crying to me about your moral code. Superman shook his hand, surprised by the calluses. This man had fought his war with his bare hands. I've seen evil before. I've never let it change who I am. Then you ain't met Homelander. Butcher released his grip. But you will. And that cunt doesn't take rejection well. He's going to come for you with everything he's got. And Vought. They're going to weaponize this entire country against you. As if summoning her by name, every television in the bar flickered to life simultaneously. Emergency broadcast. Madeline Stillwell's face filled the screens, perfectly composed, expertly lit, wielding concern like a scalpel. Unidentified metahuman represents a clear and present danger to American security. The alien entity attacked the Seven without provocation, demonstrating powers that exceed anything we've encountered. Vought International is working with federal authorities to contain this threat. We urge all citizens to report any sightings immediately. Do not approach. Do not engage. This individual is extremely dangerous. They'd already started. Superman watched his own image, frozen mid-flight, eyes glowing red, looking for all the world like an invader. The media machine was spinning up, turning his rescue of a child into a foot nation, his defense against Homelander into unprovoked aggression. Welcome to the boys, mate. Butcher's smile was predatory. Now the real war begins. Superman's jaw tightened. In his world, truth mattered. Here, he was learning, truth was just another product to be manufactured and sold. But that didn't mean he'd stop fighting for it. The staged attack happened at 2:47 p.m. in Times Square, and Superman heard it coming 20 minutes early. He'd been with the boys in their safe house, a converted electronics store in Brooklyn that Frenchie had lined with signal jamming equipment. They'd been building a dossier, locations of Vaught's black sites, names of victims paid to stay silent, financial trails connecting Compound V to military contracts. Real evidence. The kind that could survive courtrooms. Then Superman's super hearing picked up encrypted communications, military frequency, code words that made his skin crawl. Operation Alien Threat. Acceptable civilian casualties, minimal. Starlight has agreed to cooperate. And underneath it all, Madeline Stillwell's voice. Make it look real, make it look terrifying, and make sure every camera catches him stopping it. They're setting me up, Superman said, already moving toward the window. Times Square. They're going to stage an attack and blame me for it. How do you... Mother's milk started, but Superman was already gone, a blue and red blur accelerating through the New York skyline faster than their eyes could track. Butcher grabbed his coat. Fuck. Everyone move. We need footage of whatever's about to happen. The real footage, before Vought edits it. Times Square was a cathedral of corporate worship. Every surface a screen, every screen selling something. 2 million people passed through daily. Right now, approximately 40,000 were present, taking photos, buying merchandise, living their lives. Perfect hostages. Superman arrived to find the Seven already positioned. Homelander hovering above the crowd with manufactured concern on his face. Queen Maeve on a rooftop looking ill. Starlight at ground level, surrounded by civilians, her expression hollow. A-Train vibrating with nervous energy. The Deep looking confused, like he hadn't been briefed properly. And then the threat arrived. 3 armored vehicles, military surplus, modified with Vought tech, smashed through police barricades. Hatches opened, outpoured men in tactical gear, wearing masks, carrying weapons that crackled with unstable energy. They fired into the air, people screamed. The stampede began. Superman's X-ray vision pierced their armor in milliseconds. Compound V enhancement patches, Vought contractor IDs embedded in their gear, weapons set to stun, not kill. Even the bullets were blanks designed to create noise and panic without actual carnage. False flag, complete theater, and every news camera in New York was capturing it. Citizens of New York, Homelander's voice boomed, amplified for maximum drama. Do not panic. The Seven will protect you from these terrorists and their alien master. Alien master. They were going to blame him for an attack he wasn't even present for. Superman dropped from the sky like judgment. He landed between the terrorists and the fleeing crowd with enough force to crack pavement. Every camera swiveled toward him. Every phone in Times Square started recording. "Stand down," Superman commanded. His voice carried across the square, cutting through the panic. "This is a fabrication. These men work for Vought." One of the masked men, clearly following a script, pointed his weapon at Superman. "The alien appears. Proof that we serve." Superman moved at super speed, disarming all 20 operatives in 1.3 seconds. He held their weapons in a bundle, crushed them to scrap metal with one hand, and let the debris fall. Then he tore the mask off the nearest operative, revealing the Vought contractor ID tattooed on the man's neck, company policy for deniable operatives. "This man is employed by Vought International," Superman announced, turning the operative to face the cameras. "As are all of these terrorists. Check the weapons, check their equipment. This entire attack was staged." For 3 seconds, there was perfect silence. The crowd processing, the cameras transmitting, history pivoting on a knife's edge. Then Homelander laughed, the sound wrong, performative. "Of course you'd lie. That's what invaders do. You attacked us, now you're trying to frame Vought. I can prove it." Superman's eyes blazed red, using heat vision with surgical precision. He burned through the armor of the lead operative's chest plate, revealing not body armor underneath, but a transmitter. Broadcasting, receiving, connected to a specific frequency. Superman's superhearing isolated the frequency, then broadcasted it through the operative's own equipment. "Team Alpha, maintain panic protocols. Starlight, you're up. Engage the alien with visible reluctance. Poll testing says that plays well with demographics." Madeline Stillwell's voice, crystal clear, pumped through every speaker the operatives carried. The crowd's mood shifted. Confusion turning to anger. Phones recording everything. Social media erupting in real time. Stillwell's voice continued from the speakers. "And if civilians are injured, make sure it looks like his fault. We need him registered as a threat, not a hero. Are we clear?" Starlight stood frozen, her face a mask of horror. She'd agreed to help contain a dangerous alien. She hadn't known, or had convinced herself she hadn't known, that it would go this far. Annie, Superman said quietly, using her real name, gathered from hours of monitoring communications. You don't have to do this. Her hands crackled with golden energy, tears streaming down her face. I don't have a choice. They own me, my contract, my image, my life. You always have a choice. Superman stood unarmed, unthreatening, as 40,000 people watched. I know what they've done to you, what Vought does to all of you, but you can stop pretending, right now, in front of the whole world. Homelander descended like a meteor, positioning himself between Superman and Starlight. Enough! You're under arrest for what? Superman's voice cut like steel. For exposing your company's false flag operation, for revealing that you manufacture threats to justify your existence? He turned to address the crowd, the cameras, the world watching through a million screens. My name is Kal-El. On my world, I'm called Superman. I came here by accident, a dimensional breach I didn't cause and don't fully understand. I've spent 2 days in your world. 2 days. And in that time, I've learned that everything you've been told about heroes is a lie. He gestured at the 7. These people aren't heroes, they're products, manufactured with a drug called Compound V, controlled by a corporation called Vought, and deployed to maintain that corporation's power. They commit crimes, murder civilians, and it's all covered up because they're profitable. Lies! Homelander screamed, his composure shattering. Everything he says is, I have recordings. Superman pulled a small drive from his belt, something Frenchie had built, nearly indestructible, containing dozens of hours of intercepted communications. Vaught's own encrypted channels, executives discussing cover-ups, legal teams burying evidence, financial records of payments to silence victims. It's all here. He held up the drive for the cameras. Any journalist who wants the truth, real journalists, not Vaught's employees, I'll give you everything, every file, every recording, every piece of evidence proving what Vought really is. Homelander's eyes went red. You're dead! You hear me? Dead! He fired his heat vision, not pulled, not controlled, full power aimed at Superman's head with lethal intent, in front of 40,000 witnesses, on every camera in Times Square. Superman's heat vision met it mid-air. The collision turned the air to plasma, created a pillar of light that stretched toward the sky. But Superman wasn't just blocking, he was overpowering. Slowly, inexorably, his heat vision pushed back against Homelander's, driving it back toward its source. Homelander strained, veins bulging, screaming with effort. He was giving everything, burning through his Compound V-enhanced reserves. Superman looked calm, almost sad, like he was proving a point he'd rather not have to make. Then he stopped, simply cut off his heat vision and let Homelander's blast dissipate harmlessly above the crowd. I could kill you, Superman said quietly, voice somehow carrying to every corner of Times Square. Right now, in front of everyone. You just tried to kill me with lethal force. Self-defense would be justified. Homelander hovered there, chest heaving, face pale with exhaustion and dawning terror. But I won't, because I'm not you. Superman turned back to the cameras. That's the difference between a hero and a product. Heroes don't kill, even when it would be easier, even when the monster deserves it. He lifted into the air, the drive still visible in his hand. Vought wanted to make me the villain of this story, but I'm going to give you the truth instead, all of it, and then you can decide what kind of world you want to live in. He vanished, sonic boom echoing through Manhattan's concrete canyons. In the silence that followed, 40,000 phones uploaded 40,000 different angles of the same moment. Homelander, trying to murder someone in broad daylight. Vought, exposed staging terrorist attacks. The 7, standing mute as their entire world collapsed. And somewhere in Brooklyn, Billy Butcher laughed like the world was finally making sense. Welcome to the fucking revolution, Superman. Vought Tower scraped the New York skyline like a monument to corporate arrogance. 99 floors of steel, glass, and secrets. Superman approached at midnight, invisible to radar, silent despite his speed, a ghost hunting truths in a temple of lies. He'd given the drive to 3 journalists simultaneously, one in Washington Post, one at The Guardian, one freelance with a history of surviving Vought's legal attacks. Insurance, in case Vought tried to bury it. The story was breaking across every non-Vought media platform. Protests were forming. Congress was calling emergency sessions, but Superman needed more than leaked audio. He needed the source, the laboratories, the proof that even Vought's army of lawyers couldn't spin away. He phased through the building's exterior, not actual phasing, just moving so precisely through microscopic gaps in the structure that it looked like he'd passed through solid matter. X-ray vision mapped every floor simultaneously. 73rd floor, executive offices. 52nd, hero management. 37th, legal department. And below that, beneath layers of lead shielding that would have hidden it from normal vision, sub-level 7, the labs. Superman descended through the building like a falling shadow, navigating through ventilation shafts too small for humans, but trivial for someone who could control every molecule of his body. His super hearing painted an acoustic map, security guards on patrol, executives working late, and below, the screams. Children screaming. He accelerated. Lead shielding was supposed to block X-ray vision, but Superman had decades of experience compensating. He filtered through adjacent materials, triangulated from electrical systems, built a mental image of what lay behind the lead. Sub-level 7 was a nightmare rendered in fluorescent lighting. Rows of cribs, medical equipment, children, babies, some of them, strapped to monitoring devices. IV drips of compound V, measured in doses that made Superman's stomach turn. Most were unconscious, some were seizing, 2 weren't moving at all. And monitoring them, taking notes with clinical detachment, were men and women in white coats. Scientists, doctors, people who'd taken oaths to do no harm, now calibrating exactly how much superhuman serum a 6-month-old could survive. Superman came through the wall like the wrath of God. He didn't announce himself, didn't give warnings, simply appeared in the center of the laboratory, cape settling, eyes glowing faint red with barely contained fury. "Step away from the children, now!" The scientists froze. One reached for an alarm. Superman crushed the panel with heat vision before her hand reached it. Another ran for the door. Superman was there first, standing in the doorway, immovable. I said, "Step away." His voice was quiet. That made it more terrifying. They complied, backing against the walls, faces pale with terror. Good. They should be terrified. Superman's X-ray vision swept the room, cataloging every horror. 23 children, 13 showing signs of compound V integration, 7 in critical condition, 3 dying. He moved to the nearest crib, a little girl, maybe 8 months old, IVs in both arms, monitors tracking vitals that spiked and crashed in arrhythmic patterns. Her designation, Subject 7 Alpha 19. Not a name. A test subject. Superman's hands shook as he gently, infinitely gently, began removing the IVs. "Stop!" One of the scientists found her voice. Dr. Sarah Chen, according to her ID badge. "You'll kill her. The compound V integration is at a critical phase. If you interrupt the process, she's already dying." Superman's super hearing cataloged the child's failing organs. "You've poisoned her. All of them." "It's not poison. It's enhancement. We're creating the next generation of heroes. You're murdering children for profit." Superman continued removing IVs, moving from crib to crib with methodical precision. "How many have died? How many test subjects before these?" Silence. The kind that answered everything. Superman's jaw tightened. "How many?" Dr. Chen's voice was barely a whisper. 217, over 6 years, but the survival rate is improving. Superman's heat vision flared, melting a hole in the reinforced concrete wall. Not aimed at anyone, just a release of rage that would have incinerated them if directed with intent. The scientists cowered. "You're done." Superman's voice was absolute. "This facility is shut down. These children are going to hospitals, real hospitals, and you're all going to prison." "You can't." Another scientist, Dr. Marcus Webb. "We have legal authorization. Vought has government contracts. Everything we do is approved." "By who?" Superman was suddenly inches from Webb's face. "Show me. Show me the paperwork that says you can torture babies." Webb pulled out a tablet with trembling hands, navigating to classified files. Superman's vision absorbed the information faster than the screen could refresh. Contract codes, government signatures, Department of Defense authorizations, Pentagon funding, senator signatures. It went all the way to the top. "Dear God," Superman whispered, "your entire government knows." "It's national security," Chen said desperately. "We need enhanced soldiers, enhanced citizens. Vought is preparing America for future threats by creating those threats yourself." Superman's super hearing had been passive, but now he focused, pushing his senses through the entire building. 99 floors, thousands of conversations, and in the executive suite, Madeline Stillwell's voice, on a secure call. "Contain the laboratory breach. Use lethal force if necessary. The research cannot be compromised. If Superman has reached sub-level 7, initiate protocol Scorched Earth. Burn everything. We'll blame him for the..." She stopped mid-sentence. Superman had appeared in her office, phasing through 17 floors in 0.3 seconds, standing in front of her desk while she was still holding the phone. Her composure cracked for exactly 1 second. Then it reassembled, cold and perfect. "Superman, breaking and entering, threatening Vought employees, industrial espionage." She smiled like a knife. "You're making this very easy for our legal team." "You were about to kill those children." Superman's voice was dangerously calm. "To destroy the evidence." "I was about to protect proprietary research from corporate espionage." Stillwell stood, smoothing her suit. "Those children are legal test subjects, properly contracted through their legal guardians. Every signature required by law is on file. You, however, are an illegal alien with no jurisdiction, no authority, and no rights in this country. Human rights aren't granted by countries." Superman stepped forward. "They're inherent, and you've violated everyone." "Have I?" Stillwell's smile widened. "Tell me, Superman, when you save all those children, where will they go? Into foster care, social services? We have judges, social workers, entire agencies on retainer. Those children will be back in our custody within 48 hours. Different facility, different sub-level, same research." Superman's fists clenched hard enough to hear his knuckles crack. "You can't win this legally," Stillwell continued. "We own the law. You can't win it violently. You're too moral to kill me. And you can't win it publicly. We control the narrative. By morning, every news outlet will report that you attacked a medical research facility and kidnapped sick children we were trying to save. I have proof, recordings, files, which will claim are fabricated. Deep fakes, foreign intelligence. We have experts who'll testify to that. We have senators who'll demand your extradition. We have generals who'll deploy weapons that, while they probably won't kill you, will create enough collateral damage that you'll be blamed for dozens of deaths." She leaned forward, voice dropping to something personal and poisonous. "You're in our world now, Superman. And in our world, power doesn't come from flying or laser eyes. It comes from owning the systems that decide what truth means. You can't fight Vought. You can only choose how badly you want to lose." Superman stood silent for 3 seconds, processing, strategizing. His super hearing tracked security forces converging on the building. His X-ray vision saw Black Noir approaching from below, armed with weapons specifically designed to hurt Supes. Homelander was being scrambled, probably pumped full of emergency Compound V reserves. They were preparing to make him the villain. And if he fought back, he'd prove them right, unless he changed the game entirely. "You're right," Superman said quietly. "I can't win your game. I'm too moral to kill you, too principled to threaten innocence, too committed to truth to fight with lies." Stillwell's smile was triumphant. "Then we're done here. But I don't need to win your game." Superman's eyes met hers. "I just need to show the world what you really are. And I've been recording everything, every word, every crime, this conversation included." Her smile faltered. "Right now, every major journalist I contacted is receiving a live stream. Your confession, your orders, everything." He tapped his temple. "Kryptonian technology, built into my suit. You've been broadcasting your own crimes for the last 5 minutes." Stillwell's face went white. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Her phone rang. She looked at the caller ID, her assistant. Hands shaking, she answered. "Ma'am, we have a problem. Multiple news agencies are reporting. They have video of you discussing." Stillwell hurled the phone against the wall. Superman turned toward the window. "Those children are coming with me, and you're finished." He was gone before she could respond, moving back through the building, gathering all 23 children with impossible gentleness, protecting them with his own body as he ascended through Vought Tower and into the New York night. Behind him, in an office overlooking a city beginning to question everything it had believed, Madeline Stillwell realized she'd made a critical error. She'd played by rules. Superman didn't need rules. He had truth. The children were safe. Distributed to 3 independent hospitals under heavy media presence, protected by journalists and activists who turned them into a story too big to disappear. Vaught's lawyers circled like sharks, but for now, the world was watching too closely. Superman had won a battle, but Homelander was about to start a war. It began at dawn. Superman heard it from 12 miles away. Screams, explosions, the specific frequency of heat vision cutting through steel and flesh. He was airborne in microseconds, breaking Mach 3 over the East River, tracking the destruction to its source. Brooklyn, the Redeemer Bar, the boys' safe house. Superman arrived to find the building collapsed, smoke rising from rubble that still glowed with residual heat. His X-ray vision pierced the debris frantically, searching for heartbeats. There, Frenchie and Kimiko, trapped under a support beam but alive, Mother's milk pinned in the basement, and Butcher was in the street, held 3 feet off the ground by Homelander's hand around his throat. Blood streamed from a gash on Butcher's forehead. His face was turning purple. He was dying. "Homelander!" Superman's voice was thunder. Homelander turned, and Superman saw immediately that something fundamental had broken. The man's eyes were wild, unfocused, foam at the corners of his mouth. His grip on Butcher tightened convulsively. "There you are." Homelander's voice was wrong, slurred, manic. "The alien cunt who ruined everything. My reputation, my image, my world." He hurled Butcher aside like garbage. Billy crashed through a parked car's windshield, tumbling across pavement, not moving. Superman caught Homelander's follow-up punch one-handed. The shockwave shattered windows for 3 blocks. "What did you take? I can hear your heart racing. You're overdosing on something." "Compound V!" Homelander laughed, the sound unhinged. "Quadruple dose. Vought Special Reserve. Makes me faster, stronger, better." His other fist came around in a haymaker that Superman barely slipped. "Strong enough to kill you." They collided mid-air over Brooklyn, and this time, Homelander wasn't holding back because there was nothing left to hold back. He fought with the desperation of a god who'd learned mortality existed, enhanced by enough compound V to kill a normal sup, but only making him more unstable. Superman had fought stronger opponents, Darkseid, Doomsday, Mongol, but he'd never fought someone this broken, this psychologically shattered, operating on pure ego-driven rage. Homelander wasn't trying to win. He was trying to prove something to himself. They crashed through buildings. Homelander targeted structural supports deliberately, trying to create civilian casualties that Superman would have to stop and save. It was tactics born from psychopathy, using Superman's morality as a weapon against him, and it was working. Superman had to break off attacks repeatedly to catch falling civilians, to reinforce crumbling buildings, to prevent Homelander's rampage from killing hundreds. Each rescue gave Homelander openings to strike, and he took them with vicious precision. Heat vision seared across Superman's shoulder, not painful, but hot enough that he felt it. Homelander was burning hotter than before, the compound V overdose pushing him past normal limits. His punches carried force that Superman actually had to brace against. "You think you're better than me?" Homelander screamed, tackling Superman through a water tower. They plummeted 6 stories, grappling, trading blows that sounded like artillery fire. "You think you can just show up and replace me? I'm not trying to replace you." Superman blocked a knee strike aimed at his ribs. "You need help, medical help. That much compound V is killing you." "Good!" Homelander's laugh was broken glass. "If I'm dying, I'm taking you with me, and them, and everyone." He broke Superman's grip with a burst of strength that seemed chemically impossible, then dove toward the street where civilians were evacuating. His eyes glowed red with murderous intent. Superman intercepted him 5 feet from the crowd, clotheslining Homelander with enough force to redirect his momentum skyward. They shot into the atmosphere, breaking the sound barrier, then Mach 2, then Mach 3. Superman was getting him away from people, away from collateral damage. Homelander realized it mid-flight and went berserk. He bit Superman's arm, actually bit him, with teeth enhanced by compound V, drawing blood for the first time in this universe. He clawed at Superman's eyes, fought dirty, fought desperate, fought like he'd finally found someone he couldn't dominate and couldn't psychologically handle that reality. They reached 30,000 feet. Superman threw Homelander away, creating distance, trying one last time to de-escalate. "Please, you're having a psychotic break. The compound V overdose is—" "I don't care." Homelander's scream echoed through thin air. "You destroyed everything. My image, my brand, me." Tears streamed down his face, mixing with blood from a split lip. Evidence that Superman was actually hurting him, that he wasn't invincible after all. "I was a god, and you made me nothing." "You were never a god." Superman's voice was sad. "You were a victim, made by Vought, controlled by Vought, broken by—" Homelander's heat vision lanced out, not at Superman, but downward, at Brooklyn, at civilian zones, at the very people he'd been marketed as protecting. Superman's heart stopped. If that heat vision reached the ground at full intensity from this height, it would cut through buildings like a blowtorch through paper. Dozens would die, maybe hundreds. He had one choice. One terrible choice. Superman intercepted the heat vision with his own body, positioning himself directly in the beam's path. It hammered into his chest, concentrated power that even his invulnerability strained against. He gritted his teeth, holding position, absorbing punishment meant for innocence below. And while he was immobilized, Homelander struck, not with power, with words. "You can't save them all," Homelander whispered, close enough that only Superman could hear. "Every second you waste on me, someone else is dying. Vought has operations in 17 countries, labs, test facilities, children like the ones you saved, except you don't know where they are. You can't be everywhere. You can't save everyone." He smiled, and it was the smile of a man who'd realized that if he couldn't win, he'd make sure nobody did. So here's the choice, Superman. Kill me now, break your precious moral code, and maybe you save thousands. Or let me live, and I promise you, I will murder my way across this country until you do. Every death will be on your hands, every child, every innocent, your responsibility. Superman's heat vision cut off. He stared at Homelander, at this broken, overdosed, psychotic product of corporate ambition, and saw exactly what Vought had created. Not a hero, not even a villain, just a weapon that had finally learned it was disposable. "I won't kill you," Superman said quietly. "Then people will die." "They don't have to." Superman moved faster than Homelander could track, faster than the compound Vi overdose could compensate for. He struck with surgical precision, pressure points, nerve clusters, specific impacts designed to overwhelm even superhuman physiology without causing permanent damage. Homelander fought back, connected with a punch that actually staggered Superman, followed with heat vision that scorched Superman's uniform. But he was fading. The overdose was catching up, his body burning through reserves it didn't have. Superman caught both of Homelander's wrists, held them crossed over his chest, immobilizing him. "You're right. I can't save everyone. I can't be everywhere. But I can stop you, right now, without killing you." "Then what?" Homelander's voice was fading, exhaustion and chemical crash fighting for control. "Prison? Therapy? You think you can fix me?" "No." Superman's grip was gentle but unbreakable. "But I can make sure you never hurt anyone again. And maybe someday you can choose to be more than what Vought made you." Homelander laughed, weak, broken, defeated. "You really believe that hero shit, don't you? That people can change, that redemption exists." "I have to." Superman began descending, carrying Homelander like a father carrying an exhausted child. "Because if I don't, I become what Butcher wants me to be, an executioner, and this world already has enough of those." They touched down in Brooklyn. The street was chaos. Emergency vehicles, news crews, the boys extracting themselves from rubble. And standing in the center of it all, bloodied but alive, was Billy Butcher, holding a rifle that wouldn't do anything to either of them but pointing it anyway. "Put him down," Butcher said quietly. "Let me end this." Superman met his eyes. "No. He killed innocent people today. He'll kill more tomorrow. You know what he is." "I know what he's been made into." Superman lowered Homelander to the ground, unconscious now, the overdose finally claiming him. "And I know that executing him makes me the monster you already think all supes are. Then you're a fool." Butcher didn't lower the rifle. "And when he wakes up and kills someone you love, remember this moment." Superman stood between Butcher and Homelander, unmovable. "If that happens, it'll be my responsibility, not yours. My choice. My consequences." For 10 seconds, Butcher held the rifle steady. Then he lowered it, spat blood, and turned away. "You're going to regret this, Superman. This world doesn't reward mercy." Superman watched him go, then looked down at Homelander, drugged, defeated, pathetic. "Maybe not," Superman said to the unconscious form, "but mercy is the reward." They brought Homelander to a place that didn't officially exist. Superman had discovered it during his surveillance of Vought, a black site facility in Montana, buried 300 feet underground, designed to contain metahuman threats that even Compound V couldn't control. Vought had built it for failures, for experiments gone wrong. Now it would hold their greatest success. The cell was lead-lined, reinforced with materials Superman had verified could withstand Homelander's strength. Not forever, but long enough. Medical equipment monitored his vitals as the Compound V overdose slowly metabolized. Sedatives kept him unconscious, a cocktail Frenchie had designed specifically for enhanced physiology. And in an adjacent room, separated by 6 feet of concrete and ballistic glass, Billy Butcher waited with a choice that would define everything that came next. "You've got 24 hours. Superman stood beside Butcher, both of them watching Homelander's unconscious form through the observation window. "That's how long Vought has before the full evidence I gathered goes completely public. Every lab, every test subject, every crime. I've given them one chance to surrender peacefully. And you actually think they'll take it?" Butcher's voice was raw from near strangulation. His neck was mottled with bruises in the shape of Homelander's fingers. "Mate, you really don't understand these cunts." "I understand them better than you think." Superman pulled out a tablet, displaying surveillance footage he'd captured during his infiltration. "I've documented everything. Madeline Stillwell coordinating cover-ups. Stan Edgar authorizing human experiments. Government officials receiving payments. It's not just Vought. It's the entire system they've corrupted." Butcher studied the footage, his expression unreadable. "And if they don't surrender? If they fight? Then I dismantle them. Systematically, legally." Superman's jaw tightened. "I've already contacted the International Criminal Court, the UN Human Rights Council, media organizations in 40 countries. Vought operates globally, but they can't fight the entire world. They'll run." Butcher gestured at the screen. "Edgar, Stillwell, all the executives. They've got contingencies, private islands, countries with no extradition, Swiss bank accounts that could fund small wars. You'll never catch them all." "I don't need to catch them all. I just need to destroy the infrastructure." Superman switched the display to a map of Vought facilities worldwide. Red dots marked every location. Their power comes from control, of soups, of narratives, of governments. Remove that control, and they're just criminals. Wealthy criminals, but still criminals. And the soups. Butcher's voice hardened. The ones who've murdered, raped, tortured. The ones who've been following Vaught's orders for years. You going to redeem them all with a stern talking to? Superman was silent for a moment, watching Homelander breathe, steady, medicated, temporarily harmless. "Some of them can't be redeemed. Some of them have done things that no amount of rehabilitation will fix. But that doesn't mean execution is the answer." "Doesn't it?" Butcher turned to face him fully. "Let me tell you about my wife, Superman. Becca. 8 years ago, Homelander raped her. Vought covered it up, paid her to stay silent, destroyed every piece of evidence. She disappeared into their system, and I've been hunting the bastard ever since." Superman's eyes widened slightly. "Butcher, I'm not finished." Butcher's voice was steel. 3 months ago, I found her, alive, hidden in one of Vaught's safe houses, with a son, Homelander's son, 8 years old, showing signs of abilities. Vaught's been studying him, preparing to turn him into the next generation of controlled weapons. He pulled out his phone, showing a photo, a woman with kind eyes and a small boy with blonde hair and uncertain smile. "That's what your mercy protects, Superman. A rapist, a murderer, a monster who'll never stop because that's what he was made to be. So you tell me, what do I tell Becca when Homelander eventually escapes and comes looking for his son?" Superman stared at the photo, feeling the weight of Butcher's pain like physical pressure. "Where are they now? Your wife and the boy?" "Somewhere Vought can't find them. Somewhere you can't find them." Butcher pocketed the phone. "Because I don't trust anyone anymore. Not Vought, not the Seven, and certainly not an alien who thinks mercy is strength." "Mercy isn't weakness," Superman said quietly, "and justice isn't vengeance. If I kill Homelander, if I cross that line, I become something this world can't afford. A power without accountability. A judge, jury, and executioner who answers to no one. You already are that." Butcher gestured at the cell. "You've got the most dangerous man on Earth locked in a cage. You infiltrated a corporate headquarters and stole evidence. You've decided all by yourself what justice looks like, so spare me the speech about accountability. Superman had no immediate response because Butcher was right. He'd made unilateral decisions, acted without oversight, imposed his moral code on a world that hadn't asked for it. In his own universe, he had the Justice League, other heroes, systems of accountability, however imperfect. Here, he was alone. And absolute power without oversight was tyranny, even with good intentions. Then help me. Superman met Butcher's eyes. You know this world. You know what Vought is, what they've done. Help me build something better, not revenge, not execution, but actual justice. Justice, Butcher laughed bitterly. You want to know what justice looks like? I'll show you. He pulled up his own tablet, showing footage the boys had been collecting for years. Not just Vaught's crimes, the individual crimes of every supe they documented. A train running through pedestrians like they were obstacles, leaving bodies shattered in his wake. The Deep using his position to sexually assault women in exchange for career advancement. Black Noir's missions that were actually assassinations of Vaught's political enemies. And Homelander, hours of footage, decades of crimes, each one worse than the last. This is what you're protecting with your moral code, Butcher said. Every one of them is a war criminal. Every one of them should face a firing squad. But you think prison and therapy will fix psychopaths who can punch through steel. What's your alternative? Superman's voice rose slightly. Execute every supe? Become the very thing you're fighting against? Where does it end, Butcher? With Homelander, with the Seven, with every person who's ever been injected with Compound V, even against their will? It ends when they can't hurt anyone anymore. Butcher leaned close to the glass, staring at Homelander's unconscious form. You asked what I'd tell Becca. Here's what I'd tell her. I killed the monster who destroyed our lives. I made sure he'd never touch another person. I chose her safety over some alien's idealism. And what would you tell her son? Superman's voice was quiet. That you killed his father? That you became a killer to stop a killer? What does that teach him about justice? About mercy? About the kind of man he should become? Butcher's jaw tightened. Don't you dare bring Ryan into this. I have to, because he's why this matters. Superman gestured at Homelander. That boy has his father's abilities, maybe his potential, and he's watching, through news, through stories, through whatever fragments reach him, to see what kind of world he's growing up in. Do you want him to learn that power means execution? That the strong kill the weak when it's convenient? I want him to learn that monsters don't get second chances. Butcher's voice cracked slightly. That his father doesn't get to hurt people and hide behind Superman's mercy. Homelander isn't hiding. He's contained, monitored, unable to hurt anyone. Superman pulled up specifications on the tablet. Security measures, fail-safes, multiple redundancies. And if he escapes, I'll stop him again and again, as many times as it takes, until you can't. Butcher turned away from the glass. Until you're off-world, or distracted, or just too slow. And then he kills someone else. And that blood is on your hands, Superman. Not mine, yours. The words hung in the air like accusations. In the cell, Homelander stirred slightly, sedatives wearing thin. 24 hours, Superman repeated. That's what I'm giving Vought, and that's what I'm giving you. Choose whether you want to help me build something better, or whether you want to keep fighting a war that never ends. It ends when they're dead. Then it never ends. Because killing them just creates martyrs, symbols, proof that supes are too dangerous to exist. Superman moved toward the exit. Help me prove that accountability works, that justice works, or keep fighting your war alone. He paused at the door. But if you kill Homelander while he's in my custody, we become enemies. And I will stop you, not because I'm protecting him, Because I'm protecting what justice means." Superman left. Butcher stood alone in the observation room, staring at the unconscious monster who'd destroyed his life, his finger hovering over his phone. One call, one message. Mother's Milk, Frenchie, and Kimiko would come. They'd breach the cell. They'd end Homelander permanently. One call, and the war would be over. Butcher's finger trembled. Then he pocketed the phone, walked to the cell's control panel, and did something he'd never done before. He chose to wait, to see if Superman's way could possibly work in a world this broken. But he kept the gun loaded just in case. The 24 hours ended not with surrender, but with war. Superman detected them coming from 200 miles out. Military aircraft, dozens of them, flanked by supes he'd never encountered. Vaught's reserve teams, international assets, every enhanced operative they could mobilize on short notice, and leading them, broadcasting on all frequencies, was a voice Superman had learned to recognize: Stan Edgar, CEO of Vought International. "Superman, you've made your position clear. Now hear ours." Edgar's voice was calm, clinical. "You're holding our property. You've stolen proprietary information. You've attacked our employees and destroyed our facilities. We're invoking Defense Production Act provisions and multiple anti-terrorism statutes. You have 1 hour to surrender to federal custody." Superman stood on the Montana plains outside the Black Site facility, alone against an army. Behind him, Butcher and the boys had evacuated with Homelander's unconscious form, moving him to a secondary location Superman had prepared. This fight couldn't happen near civilians. "I'm not surrendering," Superman replied, amplifying his voice to match Edgar's broadcast. "And neither should you. The evidence is already distributed. 73 news organizations, 42 governments, the International Criminal Court. You can kill me, but you can't stop what's coming. We're not trying to stop it. We're controlling it." Edgar's tone never wavered. "By the time this is over, you'll be the story. The alien who attacked America, the threat that forced heroes to unite, and Vought will be the company that stopped you." The aircraft broke formation. Supes descended like falling stars, 20, 30, 40 enhanced individuals. Superman's X-ray vision catalogued them. Some showed standard compound V markers, others displayed unusual mutations, experimental enhancements that made his skin crawl. They'd been saving these for an emergency. He was that emergency. "Last chance," Edgar's voice crackled. "Stand down. Submit to authority, and we'll ensure minimal casualties." Superman's cape snapped in the wind. His eyes began to glow. "No." They came at him like a hurricane of fists and fire. The first wave hit hardest, bruisers enhanced for pure strength, throwing haymakers that could shatter buildings. Superman weaved through them, countering with precise strikes that disabled without killing. Shattered collarbone, ruptured knee, concussion protocols that his Kryptonian knowledge had adapted for human physiology. They fell, but more came. Speedsters trying to match his velocity, creating sonic booms as they circled. Superman caught one mid-sprint, redirecting his momentum into the ground, hard enough to crater, not hard enough to kill. The speedster stayed down. Energy projectors lit up the sky. Plasma, electricity, radiation beams that Superman absorbed or deflected. He used heat vision with surgical precision, melting weapons, destroying equipment, targeting non-lethal zones. A woman who threw fire found her costume's ignition source destroyed. A man shooting radiation blasts had his power-focusing collar shattered. But there were too many, and they weren't fighting to capture, they were fighting to kill. A telepath tried to invade his mind, found Kryptonian mental architecture completely alien, and collapsed from the feedback. A matter manipulator attempted to destabilize Superman's molecular structure, discovered Kryptonian cellular bonds didn't obey Earth physics, and Superman had to catch him before he self-destructed from the power backlash. "You're holding back!" A supe covered in metallic armor charged, swinging a compound V-enhanced sledgehammer. "That's why you'll lose." Superman caught the hammer one-handed, twisted it from the soup's grip, and tossed it into orbit. I'm holding back because killing you would be easy. Saving you while stopping you? That's hard. That's what heroes do. The armored soup hesitated, just for a moment, then resumed the attack, but with less conviction. The battle sprawled across 12 square miles. Superman fought at a fraction of his capability, constantly pulling punches, redirecting lethal attacks, protecting his attackers from their own powers. A man who could explode and regenerate tried to detonate next to Superman. Superman contained the blast with his own body, shielding others from the shrapnel. And through it all, the cameras captured everything. News drones, military surveillance, Vaught's own recording equipment. The world watched as Superman fought 40 enhanced individuals without killing a single one. Then the second wave arrived. Military bombers, high altitude, launching payloads that Superman's telescopic vision identified as tactical nuclear weapons. Small yield, designed for battlefield deployment, but still capable of obliterating everything within a 5-mile radius. You're insane, Superman launched skyward, accelerating toward the falling warheads. There are populated areas within the blast radius. Acceptable casualties. Edgar's voice remained clinical. You forced this escalation. Superman reached the warheads at 40,000 feet. 6 of them spread across the sky, falling in synchronized pattern. He had maybe 15 seconds before detonation. Not enough time to carry them all to safe altitude, but enough time to do something desperate. He positioned himself at the center of the formation, drew in a breath that would have created hurricane winds at ground level, and exhaled with Kryptonian lung capacity. The freeze breath hit all 6 warheads simultaneously, flash freezing them to absolute zero, disrupting their detonation mechanisms. The warheads fell inert, Superman catching each one and accelerating them beyond escape velocity. They'd burn up in space or drift harmlessly. Crisis averted, but the effort had cost him precious seconds. And in those seconds, Vought had deployed their final asset. She appeared without warning, a woman in white, glowing with energy that Superman's senses registered as similar to his own solar-powered physiology. But wrong, artificial, and overwhelmingly powerful. Stormfront, Edgar's voice announced. Our contingency for Homelander, enhanced beyond standard compound V. Powered by synthetic solar radiation, we developed specifically to counter Kryptonian biology. The woman smiled, and electricity arced between her fingers. Hello, alien. Let's see if you bleed. She moved faster than any Superman had fought, nearly matching his speed. Her first punch connected with his jaw, and for the first time since arriving in this universe, Superman felt actual pain. Not much, but enough to matter. They collided above Montana like gods going to war. Stormfront fought with ruthless efficiency, her powers specifically designed to hurt him. Synthetic solar radiation that disrupted his cellular energy absorption. Electromagnetic pulses that interfered with his nervous system. Thermal attacks calibrated to frequencies his invulnerability struggled against. Vought spent billions developing me, she snarled, landing a kick that sent Superman tumbling through the air. Studying your appearances on surveillance, analyzing your powers, building the perfect weapon to kill Superman. She unleashed a blast of radiation that made Superman's cells scream. He pushed through it, closing distance, trading blows that shattered the sound barrier. She was strong, nearly as strong as Homelander at peak, and more importantly, trained by people who'd studied how Superman fought. But they'd made one critical error. They'd assumed Superman only fought at the level needed to win, that he'd been showing his full power against Homelander and the Seven. He hadn't. Superman stopped holding back. Not to kill, never that, but to demonstrate the gulf between them. He accelerated to speeds that turned him invisible to normal perception, striking from 12 angles simultaneously. He used heat vision with intensity that turned air to plasma, forcing Stormfront to defend instead of attack. He flew her into the stratosphere where the air was thin and her synthetic solar radiation couldn't compensate as effectively. And then he spoke, voice cutting through the howling wind. "You're not fighting Superman. You're fighting what Vought thinks Superman is. There's a difference." He struck with calculated precision, targeting her power source, the artificial solar collectors Vought had built into her biology, not destroying them, but overloading them, forcing them to absorb more energy than they were designed to handle. Stormfront screamed as her own powers turned against her, feedback loops causing non-lethal but completely incapacitating damage. Superman caught her as she fell, unconscious, systems overloaded. Below, the remaining Supes had stopped fighting. They'd watched Vought's ultimate weapon fall in under 3 minutes. They'd seen what Superman could do when pressed, and they'd realized they were on the wrong side. Superman descended slowly, carrying Stormfront, setting her down gently among the others. Medical teams were already approaching, summoned not by Vought, but by Superman himself. Doctors Without Borders, Red Cross, independent medical organizations who would treat everyone, regardless of affiliation. "It's over," Superman announced, his voice carrying across the battlefield. "No more fighting, no more casualties. Everyone gets medical attention. Everyone survives." One of the Supes, a young man who could manipulate metal, found his voice. "Why? We tried to kill you. We followed orders to. Because you're victims too." Superman gestured at the military aircraft circling above. "Vought created you, controlled you, sent you to die protecting their profits. But that doesn't make you evil. It makes you what I'm fighting to save." A woman whose hands still smoldered with residual firepower collapsed to her knees, sobbing. "I didn't want to do this. They said they'd take away my daughter if I didn't." "I know." Superman's voice was gentle. "And now you have a choice. You can keep following orders, or you can stand with me and end this." For 3 seconds, silence. Then, one by one, the Supes stepped back, powering down, lowering weapons, choosing. In Vought Tower, Stan Edgar watched his army dissolve in real time. His expression never changed, but his hand moved toward a particular button, one that would trigger failsafes in every Compound V-enhanced individual simultaneously. Kill switches, insurance. His hand froze. Superman's voice came through his private line, calm and implacable. "Touch that button and I'll release everything, not just Vaught's crimes, your personal accounts, your orders, the people you've had killed, every secret you think is safe." A pause. "I've been listening to everything, Stan. Every call, every backup plan, and I'm done letting you hurt people." Edgar's hand retreated from the button. For the first time in 40 years, he felt something close to fear. "What do you want?" "Surrender. Public, complete. In front of every camera. And if I refuse, then I come for you next. And we both know how that ends." Stan Edgar, CEO of Vought International, looked at the screens showing Superman standing among the remains of his army, looked at the feeds showing protests worldwide, looked at the evidence files spreading across every network, and for the first time in his career, he made the pragmatic choice. "Get me a press conference." Vought Tower's press conference room had hosted 1,000 lies. Today, it would host the truth. Superman stood at the back of the room, cape draped over shoulders that carried the weight of 2 worlds now. Every major news network had cameras present, not Vought subsidiaries, but independent journalists who'd been hammering at the story for 48 hours. The room buzzed with anticipation and smartphones recording every angle. Stan Edgar approached the podium with the bearing of a man who'd already calculated his exit strategy. Behind him, flanked by federal marshals, stood Madeline Stillwell, Ashley Barrett, and a dozen Vought executives. no soups. The 7 were conspicuously absent, scattered, hiding, or in Superman's case of Homelander, still sedated in an undisclosed location. "Ladies and gentlemen," Edgar began, his voice carrying the practiced calm of someone who'd orchestrated boardroom coups and government contracts. "I'm here to address recent allegations regarding Vought International's operations, Compound V distribution, and related activities." He paused, and Superman could hear his elevated heart rate, the micro tremors in his hands. This was killing him. Good. After thorough internal review, Vought International acknowledges systemic failures in oversight, ethical protocols, and regulatory compliance. Effective immediately, I am tendering my resignation as CEO. Vought will cooperate fully with international investigations into Compound V development, soup management practices, and all related operations. The room erupted. Questions shouted from every direction, cameras flashing like lightning. But Edgar wasn't finished. Furthermore, Vought will establish a $5 billion victim compensation fund, submit to independent auditing of all facilities globally, and surrender all Compound V research to international regulatory bodies. His jaw tightened imperceptibly. The age of corporate-controlled superheroes is over. Superman watched faces in the crowd, journalists who'd spent careers trying to breach Vaught's walls, activists who'd lost family to soup violence, survivors who'd been paid to stay silent. Some were crying, others looked stunned, like they couldn't believe it was real. It was real. Superman had made it real. But as Edgar stepped away from the podium, federal agents moving to take him into custody, Superman's super hearing caught something that made his blood run cold. A whispered conversation 3 blocks away, encrypted radio frequency. Targets distracted, all assets converge on the Montana facility. Authorization code, scorched earth. If we can't have him, nobody can. Homelander. They were going for Homelander. Superman was moving before conscious thought, accelerating through the tower's reinforced windows in an explosion of glass and steel. Mach 3 over New York, Mach 4 over Pennsylvania, Mach 5 as he pushed his Kryptonian physiology to its limits, racing against whoever Vought had dispatched. He heard Butcher's voice over comm systems 300 miles out. "Superman, we've got incoming. Military contractors, dozen soups we ain't seen before, and they're not here to talk." "I'm 2 minutes out," Superman responded, breaking Mach 6. "Keep Homelander sedated. Don't let them reach him." "Bit late for that, mate. They're breaching the outer..." The transmission cut to static and gunfire. Superman arrived to chaos. The Black Site facility was under full assault, not by soups, but by humans. Vaught's private military contractors equipped with anti-soup weapons, experimental tech that crackled with unstable energy. They weren't trying to extract Homelander, they were trying to kill him, and the boys were caught in the crossfire. Superman hit the battlefield like a tactical warhead. He disarmed contractors with heat vision, melted weapons mid-shot, created walls of compressed air with super breath to shield the boys from incoming fire. He moved through the assault team like a surgeon, precise and non-lethal, leaving unconscious bodies and destroyed equipment in his wake. 30 seconds. That's how long it took him to neutralize 40 trained killers. But 30 seconds was enough for one to reach the holding cell. Superman crashed through reinforced walls to find a contractor standing over Homelander's sedated form, holding a device that Superman's X-ray vision identified as a directed EMP weapon, designed to overload a soup's nervous system, effectively cooking their brain from the inside. "Don't." Superman's voice was quiet, dangerous. The contractor's hand trembled on the trigger. "He killed my daughter, Oklahoma City, 3 years ago. Collateral damage during a Vought photo op. She was 6. Superman could see the truth in the man's elevated stress hormones, the grief carved into his body language. "I'm sorry, truly, but this isn't justice." "Justice?" The man's laugh was broken glass. "There is no justice. Vought paid my wife $50,000 to sign an NDA. Told us it was an accident. That Homelander didn't mean to. His voice cracked. He laughed. I saw the footage Vought buried. He laughed while my daughter died. Then helped me make sure he faces real justice, legal justice, public trial, complete accountability. Superman stepped forward slowly, non-threatening. But if you kill him like this, you become a murderer, and your daughter deserves better than that. My daughter deserves a father who protected her. The man's finger tightened on the trigger. You weren't here 3 years ago. You didn't watch her die. You don't get to tell me about justice. You're right. I wasn't here. Superman's voice softened. But I am now. And I'm asking you, begging you to let me do this the right way. To show the world that we're better than Vought. Better than Homelander. Better than the system that killed your daughter. For 5 heartbeats, the man stood frozen. Then his hand lowered. The device clattered to the floor. He collapsed against the wall, sobbing with the grief of 3 years finally released. Superman gently guided him out of the cell, into Butcher's custody. Make sure he gets home safe, and find the others like him. Everyone Vaught's hurt. They deserve to testify. Butcher nodded, something like respect flickering in his eyes. You actually did it. Took down Vought without becoming like them. The fight's not over. Superman glanced back at Homelander's cell. This is just the beginning. Dismantling what Vought built will take years. Making sure it never happens again, that's generational work. So, you're staying? Butcher's eyebrow raised. Thought you wanted to get home. I do, but until I figure out how. Superman looked through the facility's walls, his vision extending across Montana, across America, across a world that was simultaneously better and worse than his own. This world needs help, real help. Not corporate heroes or government weapons, just heroes. And you think you can teach them that? Mother's Milk approached, bandaged but alive. Teach this world what a real hero looks like. I can try. Superman's jaw set with determination. Starting with him. He gestured at Homelander. The man was stirring now, sedatives wearing off, returning to consciousness in a world that had fundamentally changed. A world where Vought had fallen, where his crimes were public, where he was no longer the strongest being on Earth. Homelander's eyes opened slowly, unfocused, confused. Then they found Superman standing outside the cell, and something like recognition, or maybe just exhaustion, flickered across his face. You won! Homelander's voice was hoarse. You actually won. No. Superman shook his head. We all lost. You, me, everyone Vought hurt. But we get to decide what comes next. Whether this world learns from its mistakes or repeats them. And what comes next for me? Homelander sat up slowly, chains rattling, compound V-resistant restraints that Frenchie had designed. Trial, prison, execution. Accountability. Superman's voice was absolute. You'll face every victim, answer for every crime, spend the rest of your life proving that you're more than what Vought made you, or you'll die trying. Your choice. Homelander laughed, bitter, broken. That's not a choice. That's torture. That's justice. Superman turned to leave, then paused. And for what it's worth, I hope you choose to become something better. Because that would prove that redemption is possible, even for monsters. He left Homelander sitting in the cell, processing a future that didn't include worship, fear, or unchallenged power. Just consequences. Outside, the Montana sky was clearing. News helicopters circled, broadcasting Vaught's collapse to 6 billion people. Superman stood on the facility's roof, cape billowing in mountain wind, listening to the world respond. Protests outside Vought facilities worldwide, governments mobilizing investigations, victims coming forward by the thousands. The entire infrastructure of corporate heroism crumbling in real time, and in the chaos, something else. Hope. People who'd never believed they could fight back against Vought, now realizing they could. Communities organizing. Victims supporting each other. The beginning of something that looked almost like healing. Butcher joined him on the roof, offering a beer Superman wouldn't feel, but accepted anyway. So what now, Superman? You've toppled an empire, exposed decades of corruption, defeated their greatest weapon without killing anyone. Butcher took a long drink. You've done more in 72 hours than I managed in 20 years. What does a hero do after that? Superman looked at the sunset painting Montana in golds and crimsons. Keep being a hero. Help rebuild. Make sure whatever replaces Vought is actually better. And figure out how to get home. You'll be back. Butcher's voice was certain. This world's in your blood now. You've seen what we are, what we've done to ourselves. You won't be able to just leave us to it. Maybe. Superman took a drink that tasted like nothing to his Kryptonian palate. But first, I need to make sure you don't need me. That's the real goal. Not to be worshipped or feared, just to show people they can save themselves. A notification chimed on Butcher's phone. He checked it, then let out a low whistle. Well, fuck me. The International Criminal Court just issued arrest warrants for 47 Vought executives. UN's calling an emergency session on Compound V regulation. And the US Senate just announced full investigations into government complicity. He looked at Superman with something approaching wonder. You really think this'll stick? That the world won't just find a new Vought? I think the world just learned that corporate heroism fails. That real heroes don't work for marketing departments. Superman set down the beer, preparing to fly. Whether they remember that lesson, that's up to them. Where are you going? New York. There are still victims who need help, families who need closure. And somewhere in this world, there are other people with powers who don't know if they should be heroes or weapons. They need to see there's another path. He lifted into the air, hovering for a moment. Besides, Superman added with something almost like a smile, I hear the Seven has some openings. 3 months after Vought's collapse, Superman stood on the roof of what had been Vought Tower, now converted into a crisis response center run by independent oversight. Below, New York continued its endless rhythm, but with subtle differences. Fewer Vought advertisements, more community hero programs, people learning to save themselves. Homelander remained in custody, facing trial in The Hague. The Seven had disbanded. Starlight now worked with grassroots organizations. Queen Maeve had retired to rebuild her life. A-Train was in rehabilitation for his failing heart. The world was learning what heroism looked like without corporate sponsorship. And Superman was learning what it meant to be a hero in a world that had forgotten the definition. He still didn't know how to get home. The dimensional breach that brought him remained a mystery. But Billy Butcher was right. This world had gotten into his blood. These people, broken and cynical and desperate for something real, needed proof that hope wasn't just marketing, so he stayed. Not as a ruler or savior, but as an example. Fighting when necessary, building when possible, teaching always. Showing them that real heroes don't answer to corporations or governments. They answer to their conscience. And in a world where heroism had been weaponized and sold, that was the most revolutionary act of all. New worlds await. More stories soon.